if we told you coffee was good for you?
Coffee is the single highest source of antioxidants in the Western diet. More antioxidants than kale, more antioxidants than 70% dark chocolate, and more antioxidants than blueberries.
In fact, what if we told you that coffee is really good for you?
Research shows that 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day dramatically enhances performance in high-intensity exercise, improves memory, reaction times, and overall cognitive function, decreases risk of depression, promotes weight loss by boosting metabolic rates, reduces risk of type 2 diabetes up to 40%, decreases risk of liver cancer up to 71%, reduces risk of Parkinson's up to 30%, and decreases risk of Alzheimer's up to 65%. Overall, coffee drinkers live longer. People who drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day have about a 15% lower risk of premature mortality compared to people who don't drink coffee.
And what if we told you that the health benefits of coffee could actually be increased through conscious roasting, sourcing, and processing? Introducing Purity, a health-conscious coffee company. At Purity, we've brought together a world-class team to analyze every step in the production chain from cherry to cup. We make decisions with only one thing in mind: how can we make the healthiest coffee in the world? Here's our 3-step process. Step 1, we search the world for the highest quality organic green beans that meet our exacting standards. Way less than 1% of coffee worldwide fit our sourcing criteria. Step 2, we test, and test again to create a specific roasting protocol for each harvest that maximizes healthy compounds and minimizes toxins. Step 3, we nitrogen pack our coffee within 48 hours of roasting and deliver to your door every 2 weeks to ensure maximum freshness. The result is the ultimate coffee drinking experience. You'll not only taste the difference in our clean, healthy coffee, with Purity, you'll feel the difference.
Our coffee club members report a bright, alert lift with less jitters than regular coffee and much more gentle on the stomach.
Sign up for Purity today, and you'll never have to worry about your source for healthy coffee again.
Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. I'm your co-host, Dr. Aaron Ernst, here with co-host
Dr. Chris Demczar.
Chris
Happy Saturday,
Demczar.
everybody. Good to be here.
And we're excited to be on WBT. You know, my God, we're coming up on, I think, almost 14 years.
Wow.
It's just insane to think about that.
Yep.
And I just want to give a shout out to all of our listeners. Man, you guys, I think we hit a world record last week. We were giving away an ebook and free access to this webinar that we're hosting in September. We had almost 100 people text in asking for this ebook, Diabetes Heal Thyself. Dr. Chris and I wrote this, and we're going to give it away again today just because of the fact that you guys love it, and also because our topic is much going deeper into a cause of diabetes called Toxin-Induced Insulin Resistance. This one is somewhat specific to type 2, but I'm going to branch out and also talk about toxin-induced pancreas damage, which would be the cause of type 1, and then we're going to go even deeper, toxin-induced neural damage, which would be the cause of type 3. So in the end, toxins can cause diabetes, and if you've never heard of this or you've never looked into it yourself, go to Google, Toxin-Induced Insulin Resistance, T.I.I.R as an abbreviation. is the functional term for this condition. You will not find this in medical literature like the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, because they don't believe in this, number one. You're not going to have an endocrinologist say, yeah, I believe in toxin-induced insulin resistance. So this is something only the kooky, crazy, holistic practitioners talk about.
Yeah, doctor, I was just going to ask, is this new information that's just coming to the surface now in the first few years?
No, this has been known since the late 90s, early 2000s, that you could make someone a type 2 diabetic if you damage the insulin receptor with a toxin. There's even research dating back as far as like 2014. I know that sounds like forever ago, but it's almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's ferritin, lead, mercury, glyphosate, arsenic, aluminum. There's all these metals and toxins and pesticides that can actually cause damage to the receptor known as insulin. And if the receptor is damaged, then of course the insulin won't work. And what's the classic hallmark laboratory findings for a type 2 diabetic? Their insulin is...
Yeah, their insulin can be super high.
And their
blood
sugars
are also super high.
And their A1C is...
It's going to be also skyrocketing.
It's because the receptor is damaged, and nobody's talking about this in medicine. So we want to just break down for you real quick. How do you know what kind of diabetes you have? And I don't mean 1, 2, and 3. I mean what kind of cause you have. And look, there's so much information. We've got like an hour. So we really want you to download this ebook. It's Diabetes Heal Thyself, the causes of 1, 2, and 3 diabetes. Did you know there's a type 3?
I did.
Yeah, see, we do, but did you know there's a type 3 diabetes? I talk about this a lot. It's kind of like you take a type 1 diabetic, they inject insulin, right?
Yes.
You take a type 2 diabetic, they don't.
Right.
You add those two together, and when a type 2 diabetic has to inject insulin, 2 + 1 is
3.
Type 3 diabetes.
Very
We're going to talk about this today. So what's the call number for this?
Yeah. Call right now, text your name and email address to 704-906-2094 so you can get access to this free diabetes ebook written by Dr. Ernst and myself with the latest and most up-to-date information about everything you need to know about not just managing your diabetes, but finding the root cause, not the type of diabetes you have, but why you're resistant to insulin, why you're not producing insulin, why you're not regulating your blood sugars in the first place.
Yeah, and we put everything in here.
We did.
Home tests, food lists, how to read your tests. Like, this is basically like a medical schools, but it's not medical school, a functional schools answer. Like, this is the textbook for diabetes, guys.
Well, and it's not like, this. We didn't write this with the thought process of, let's see how many big words we can put in here, right?
No, very simple English.
Yes, very layman terms. We want everybody to be able to understand it. You're going to be able to take away something no matter what level of reading you're at. You're going to find very valuable information within this ebook. So
so it's 704-906-2094. I'm seeing some people already text in. That's great. You can also call in. Look, I have a call center. They sit there all day just waiting for you to call them. So, maybe give them some love. Like, their feet are up on the desk and they're just going, when is someone going to call? So 704-906-2094. Yeah. So let's do this real quick. There are 3 types of diabetes technically.
Right.
But that doesn't just say anything about what's causing them. So like, you know how many people we've had come into our clinic say, Dr. Ernst, I'm a type 2 diabetic and I want help. Yeah, okay. But what kind of type 2 diabetes do you have? Yeah. We've had a slew lately of type 1 diabetics and some adults with type 1 diabetes, which is very rare, just so you know. But, like some kids even, 12 and 20 and 19, and their parents bring them in going like, we're doing everything and we're injecting insulin like crazy and we want to help, our son, our daughter, whatever, get rid of type 1 diabetes.
And even we've had patients come in for, let's say, other metabolic things going on.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'll meet with them, review their labs, and you say, you know what? I think it's going to be a really good idea if we maybe do a little bit of a challenge, or we try to just make sure that their body's handling blood sugar appropriately. And lo and behold, we come to find out that, things aren't as it seems, right? Yeah. They're borderline, or they have full-blown diabetes that's unmanaged and not healing.
How about this? It happened recently. We had someone who came in with another condition, like it had to do with an organ, right? So they had like kidney problems, had no clue they were diabetic. But they were diabetic.
Right.
So if you have type 2 diabetes, the question is, what kind of type 2 do you have? If you have type 1 diabetes, the question is, what kind? And again, we're not saying, is it type 1A, B, 2A,
Right.
We're saying, what cause do you have?
Right.
And we're going to spend a ton of time today talking about the cause that no one talks about, the toxin-induced diabetes.
Yes.
So let's start at the level 1, okay? Type 1 diabetes is defined as not enough insulin, elevated sugars, and it's typically because there's damage to the pancreas.
Right. The main organ itself that's going to even
And
give
there's
you
3 major toxins that can do this. Okay, so let's go through one of them. What's one that comes to your mind? Like if I'm coming to you and I'm like, I got type 1 diabetes, you're probably thinking, oh, you've been exposed to.
Yeah, so I'm thinking pesticides, certain herbicides, glyphosate.
That's one option,
Yep.
yes.
Lots of Roundup.
There's a second one that's very famous with type 1 diabetes called, I just lost the name of it. Oh, here it comes, right? Casein-induced milk protein damage.
So you're saying that milk can cause diabetes?
No. Milk doesn't, okay? Milk, by definition, is a liquid substance that you pick up at the grocery store and you drink. It's the casein protein that's found in the milk that can cause it, okay? And specifically, it's something called A1 casein. Now, there's an A2 casein, which is much healthier, but cows typically in the United States have a high production of A1 casein. And if you're exposed to this milk protein at very high amounts when you're young,
Yep.
that exposure can cause damage to the pancreas, and therefore you no longer produce insulin. So
Okay.
it is technically a toxin to the insulin, to the pancreas.
So I think that begs the question, and I don't think this is something that I'm even aware of. Why are so many of the cows prevalent to having the A1 but not the A2?
Here we go. Okay, so the genetic lineage of cows in the United States shifted to where we discovered the genetic makeup of the cows that produce the most amount of dairy by volume
Yeah.
are generally the ones that have a casein protein genetic lineage of A1 type. So, for example, a German cow may have genetically been bred to be more A2 casein heavy,
More dominant.
and dominant, and lower A1 casein. And an American cow may have been bred to be more A1 casein dominant, less A2, because the A1 casein cows typically produce more milk. And number 2, we've kind of bred out the lineage of a traditional heritage cow. Like ready for this? The cows of the era of the biblical days
Right.
were A2
Yeah.
cows.
Yep.
Now, there were some A1 cows that came around, but again, oh my God, we figured out these things. They have high production of milk. They don't require as much, grass. They can eat more grains and still produce more milk. So we kind of leaned towards that. And so today, when you go to said grocery store and you buy said gallon of milk, it's probably really high in A1 casein. Now, there are companies that are recognizing this, and you'll see there's even a dairy product that says A2 dairy. But it's more expensive, right?
Of course,
A gallon of A2 casein milk is like $10, and you can get a gallon of milk. I don't even know anymore. I don't buy milk. How much is a gallon of milk?
I'm gonna assume $4 or $5.
It's
But
like
I don't buy it
gasoline,
either.
right? A
Yeah.
gallon of gas is like $4 or $5. So a gallon of milk is $4 or $5. So here's the thing: if you're exposed to this A1 casein when you're young, and you're susceptible to an allergy to it, or you've got a sensitivity, just like someone who's lactose intolerant, you can cause damage. So technically, it's a toxin. So can glyphosate exposure, which is a pesticide that's sprayed onto a lot of food products, damage the pancreas? Yes. Can dairy exposure from A1 casein cause it? Yes. Do you know the virus that also can cause it?
So I have a really good guess. I'm gonna go with Epstein-Barr virus.
Man alive, you nailed it on the head. There are study after study after study showing Epstein-Barr virus, which is abbreviated EBV, because of course it's hard to just write out Epstein-Barr virus all the time. And the virus itself attacks the beta cells inside the pancreas, and the beta cells are what make insulin. So watch this. If you are listening right now and you are a type 1 diabetic, or you know someone with type 1 diabetes, the question should be, hey, friend, have you ever been checked for casein damage to the pancreas? We can look for it.
Yep.
Have you been checked for Epstein-Barr virus or the amount of glyphosate in your blood? Because if those are high and you have type 1 diabetes, now we know the cause of the diabetes.
Exactly.
Now, could toxins cause type 2 diabetes?
Absolutely.
But the difference is it's not attacking the pancreas.
Yep.
Because remember, you said it earlier, a type 2 diabetic has high sugar, high
insulin.
insulin. So that high insulin means that their pancreas is healthy and producing
Right.
insulin. So what happens here is this. In a normal world, the cells of the human body, let's draw another one. Can you hand me that paper? No, listen, are we live, guys? Yes. And do we want you to go to our YouTube and our Facebook streams to see what I'm going to draw? Yes. If you're driving, pull over right now and open up your smartphone to youtube.com/askdrernst. They can also do facebook.com/askdrernst. And we're going to show you something that's really revolutionary in regards to the cause of type 2 diabetes and even type 1, which is this diagram. Now, like how simple is this, okay?
Yeah.
I'm literally holding up a piece of paper, and it took me, 10 seconds to draw this. What you're looking at is a human cell, the receptor of insulin, the sugar channel, which is a protein channel that's basically like a floodgate. When the insulin receptor is closed, then the sugar channel's open. And when the insulin receptor is open, the sugar channel's closed. So in this instance, that insulin receptor is open.
Right.
There's nothing in it.
It's open waiting for
insulin,
to come
and the
knock.
receptor is closed. So
Yep.
watch this. Here's what's so cool about the human body. When sugar starts to pile up outside of the cell now, see the sugar's outside of the cell, there's a signal sent from your brain to your pancreas to produce insulin. Now, can a type 1 diabetic do that?
No.
So that's why they have high sugars.
Right.
But a type 2 diabetic can do this.
They still can.
So why the heck
They're
do they have
supposed
high
to.
sugars then? Because
Right.
this isn't working. Now, if this hormone lands on that receptor, the receptor is closed, the sugar channel opens, and that sugar goes in the cell. And, we've talked about this before, but it's worth doing it again. There's this special thing inside your cell called a mitochondria. Remember the webinar we just did last week?
Yeah, that
Mitochondria,
energy
energy
organelle
producer,
within the
right?
cell.
So what happens is the sugar goes in the cell, and the mitochondria takes that sugar and makes energy. So when it's healthy, insulin lands, the sugar channel opens, the sugar goes in, so blood sugar goes down, energy goes up, and everyone's happy.
Yes.
Now, let's watch this. The number one toxin that affects type 2 diabetics isn't milk protein. It could be a virus, but it's typically not. It's this nasty thing called ferritin. That's one. Or mercury, or lead, or aluminum. We'll just say heavy metals.
Listing a lot of heavy metals right now.
Okay, glyphosate, which is a pesticide.
Pesticide Roundup.
So now watch this. Any of these toxins, what they do is they get inside. So I'm going to put an F, an H, M, and a G. They get inside that receptor, but they don't close the receptor. So what happens is the sugar channel's closed,
Yep.
the receptor is blunted,
right, but open.
open still. So the signal from the brain still says, hey, we need more insulin. But watch this. The insulin is made, but it can't get in there. So the signal is not sent. The cell doesn't get the energy. The brain can tell there's no energy. So what does it do? It makes more
Yeah.
insulin. And this is called type 2 diabetes. Do you
Yep.
guys see this?
Yeah.
This is the most misdiagnosed, under-discussed cause of type 2 diabetes, toxin-induced insulin resistance.
And if you guys were on the show last week, you remember me hinting and alluding to the fact that we were going to talk a little bit about the feed-forward loops, or negative and positive feedback loops, where in this instance, what Dr. Ernst was saying is that there's no negative feedback saying, stop, we don't need any more insulin to be produced.
Correct.
It's already not functioning the way it should. Stop producing more insulin, pancreas. Your body's not able to do that. So the brain still keeps sending the signals, and we see the insulin go higher, we see the sugar go higher, and then we can see the dysfunction come around where it's being diagnosed as type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
But what is the real problem? And all of you should be saying, oh my gosh, it's all these heavy metals.
Now, listen, we have to talk about every single one of these. What the heck is ferritin and where does it come from? What is mercury? We know that. It's a metal.
It's a
Where does it
metal.
come from, though? We got to talk about that.
Yep.
Lead, we got to talk about. Aluminum, we have to talk about. Glyphosate, we have to talk about. So we have, I can smell this commercial break. It's about 5 minutes out.
That's right.
So we need to do a couple things. Number one, you need to download the ebook now, because we're going to be on a commercial break, and you can download it literally and start reading it and start looking at it, but you have to text or call our number now, 704-906-2094. Look, on our WBT channel, I'm going to just throw this out. I don't know if I can say this on here. We've been on Fox Sports News for 3 weeks. they struggle to do the phone number. But man, you guys, some of you on WBT, you have us on speed dial.
Experts.
Wait, do they even have speed dial anymore? Do you remember speed dial?
Now it's, oh, no.
You push a button and it auto calls.
Well, now
I'm
you should
aging
have.
myself.
We should all have our ICE contacts though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe. Hey, is this phone number 704-906-2094? Is it one of your ICE contacts?
It should
be.
You know what that means? In case of emergency, right? But it's like we can just flip up our phone. You say, "Hey Siri, call WBT. Ask Dr. Ernst."
That's
and
right.
if you tag the number properly, you can even say, "Hey Siri, text the Ask Dr. Ernst show," and it'll send a text straight to you. But you have to put the number in your phone.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of our WBT listeners, man, they have them. Because look at all the texts coming in already.
Yep. I see them.
This is so
amazing.
fantastic. So 704-906-2094. I want to talk about the fear of missing out for a second, right? I'm literally like looking at ding, ding, look at all these texts. And if you're listening right now being like, what the heck are you talking about? Like I just left some other station. I was listening to Beyonce and I'm scrolling through and I heard diabetes. I heard it can get fixed. I'm interested. We're giving away a free ebook, 704-906-2094. It's called Diabetes Heal Thyself, written by Dr. Chris Demczar, myself, Dr. Aaron Ernst, and it's on how to solve type 1, 2, and 3. I don't know any book that talks about all three in one book.
Exactly. No, there
I've
isn't one.
seen type
Just ours.
1 books, 90 pages, 100 pages. I've seen type 2 books, 400 pages. Very rarely do you even see a book about type 3 diabetes.
Right. Nobody
They're
talks
now
about
starting
type
to
3.
come out slightly, but listen, you get all of it right now. 704-906-2094. And when we come back, we're going to break down every single one of these. And I think we have enough time to start with
Let's do
ferritin.
it. Yeah, that's a good
So
one to
we've got
start with.
ferritin, mercury, lead, aluminum, and glyphosate that have been shown in science to be the cause of the diabetes. The insulin resistance is caused by these, and nobody's talking about this. So first of all, can you test for each of these?
Yes. That's
and is
huge.
it with like blood or urine or hair or what do we do?
Yeah, so all three, right? We need
Yeah.
all three to be able to tell what's going on. We're going to, ferritin, I know we can dive into that a little bit more, is the storage form of iron in the body. And so that's going to be primarily discovered through a blood test. But some of the other ones, some of the heavy metals, all we need is a little bit of hair off the back of your head or off your body. And then that gives great insight into how your body's dealing with, or is it even accumulating any heavy metals? And certain things like certain pesticides and
Glyphosate specifically. How do we check
yes.
for that? Is that
Right.
a blood test?
That's a urine test,
Yeah.
right? So that is a very simple urine test that you do at home, right? It's so simple.
And the thing is that we need to help you get these in your hands. We need to teach you what they mean. And I'm going to talk real simple about this thing called ferritin real quick. We're going to go into it much deeper. We got about 2 minutes to a commercial. So ready? Ferritin is something that the body produces by itself in a method of trying to store iron, like you said.
Exactly.
But again, the same thing should ask this question. Well, why are you storing so much iron? Because when the ferritin levels exceed about 100 to 150 on the blood test, it starts to become toxic because it's a heavy metal. Iron's heavy. It can be oxidized really easily. And oxidation is like rust.
Yep.
So I want you to think of it as if you have protein in your blood that has iron connected to it that's rusted, that's called ferritin. And the amount of ferritin that you have is something that's very specific in regards to, for example, diabetes. So like, Dr. Chris, read this for everybody, right? I went to Google earlier and I typed in the phrase ferritin and diabetes. What's bolded at the very top? It took 0.4 seconds for Google to find this. Read this word for word.
Yeah, type 2 diabetes is a condition frequently associated with elevated levels of serum blood ferritin.
So
It's
hold
right
on.
there.
They just said diabetes is associated with high ferritin.
Yep.
Now, who published this?
Yeah, so this was in diabetes journals. So a journal
So,
for diabetes,
hold up.
a medical journal.
This is the medical journal
Yeah.
for diabetes. And they said in November of 2004
Yep.
that type 2 diabetes is caused by high ferritin. Now
Right.
watch this. The association of high ferritin and glucose intolerance, which means they can't use their
Right,
sugars,
unable to use any
and
sugars for
insulin
energy.
resistance, even in healthy people, has been
Right.
reported. Wait a second. What did that just say?
Yeah, so that's like the person that comes in here and is like, yeah, no, I'm here for reason A. And then we look at things and go, there's reason B. We've got to check in to make sure that potentially that you are type 2 diabetic. Let's look
But
at
they're
those
not
ferritin
diagnosed,
levels.
are they?
But it's undiagnosed because there's no symptoms.
So hold up. You're saying you can have diabetes and be undiagnosed
Absolutely.
if your ferritin is high.
That's right. And that's just
so
one cause.
That's why I'm saying, like, everybody listening to us should be like, okay, if my pulse is pulsing, I might be a diabetic because your ferritin is more than likely high. We do this test thousands of times and we see it all the time. Okay, here's the commercial. So real quick, I'm opening up a call line, 704-906-2094. Right now, call or text with your name and email, and we'll send you the ebook. And here's the time to ask your questions, guys. Head on over to facebook.com/AskDrErnst, youtube.com/AskDrErnst, and ask away. We'll be right back.
What if we told you coffee was good for you?
Coffee is the single highest source of antioxidants in the Western diet. More antioxidants than kale, more antioxidants than 70% dark chocolate, and more antioxidants than blueberries.
In fact, what if we told you that coffee is really good for you?
Research shows that 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day dramatically enhances performance in high-intensity exercise, improves memory, reaction times, and overall cognitive function, decreases risk of depression, promotes weight loss by boosting metabolic rates, reduces risk of type 2 diabetes up to 40%, decreases risk of liver cancer up to 71%, reduces risk of Parkinson's up to 30%, and decreases risk of Alzheimer's up to 65%. Overall, coffee drinkers live longer. People who drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day have about a 15% lower risk of premature mortality compared to people who don't drink coffee.
And what if we told you that the health benefits of coffee could actually be increased through conscious roasting, sourcing, and processing? Introducing Purity, a health-conscious coffee company. At Purity, we've brought together a world-class team to analyze every step in the production chain from cherry to cup. We make decisions with only one thing in mind: how can we make the healthiest coffee in the world? Here's our 3-step process. Step 1, we search the world for the highest quality organic green beans that meet our exacting standards. Way less than 1% of coffee worldwide fit our sourcing criteria. Step 2, we test, and test again to create a specific roasting protocol for each harvest that maximizes healthy compounds and minimizes toxins. Step 3, we nitrogen pack our coffee within 48 hours of roasting and deliver to your door every 2 weeks to ensure maximum freshness. The result is the ultimate coffee drinking experience. You'll not only taste the difference in our clean, healthy coffee, with Purity, you'll feel the difference.
Our coffee club members report a bright, alert lift with less jitters than regular coffee and much more gentle on the stomach.
Sign up for Purity today, and you'll never have to worry about your source for healthy coffee again.
Hi, my name is Gary Greenfield with Greenfield Water Solutions, and I want to introduce you to our newest product, the MR500. It's a whole house structured water filter system. It's set up in an all stainless steel multi-round filter housing. It features inlet and outlet for the water, a bleeder valve for when you're changing out the filters to reduce pressure, and to remove the top for access to the filters. We simply open up the clamp, remove the top, and this plate here holds all the filters in place. Simple to remove. It comes out, and you can see what we have on the inside here. It's 5 Aquamedics filters and a vortexing tube and a harmonizer. That's the whole system. This is designed to filter 5 gallons per minute, and all of the contaminants that it does remove are listed on the website, which is a very broad array of contaminants. These are the highest rated filters that I know of on the market that are filter cartridges. They can be changed out yearly. And of course, the process is very simple. You won't have to hire a plumber to do a change out. And the filters are available from Greenfield Water Solutions. And if you want to know more about this, you can read about it on the product page or give us a call. Thanks for watching. That's it for now from Greenfield Water Solutions.
Would you like to experience a better night's sleep? Want to feel well rested and ready for your day? Discover an amazing solution with Celliant Sleep Recovery. Our Celient sleep recovery products are made from a patented yarn, embedded with a blend of 13 infrared active minerals. Celient technology never washes out. The benefits will last for their entire lifespan. Minerals reflect the body's own energy by using Celient infrared active technology, boosting your oxygen levels and improving circulation to reach REM sleep gracefully. Our customers love to comfortably sleep throughout the night because of Celient. We've conducted 9 independent clinical studies by well-respected scientific institutions and universities that prove the many positive effects Celient has on the body. Our technology is designed to help you achieve a refreshing sleep recovery. Experience the foundation your body deserves. Start waking up refreshed and always ready for the day ahead. It's time to achieve the best sleep of your life to unlock your hidden potential. Start experiencing a better night's sleep with our Celient sleep recovery products today. Celient. Recycle your body's energy.
To bring you the best natural wine the world has to offer, we've designed a fully curated membership program. Every selection you receive is different and unique. Every wine is picked by our wine team, lab tested for purity, and curated into a special box for your enjoyment. So how does the membership work? We offer 2 main options, a half case of 6 bottles or a full case of 12. You can request all reds, all whites, or a perfect split of both. Then you can set the frequency, monthly or every other month. We offer a similar simple membership for rosé and sparkling wines. After you choose these basic options, we'll do the rest. With every box we send you, we aim to present the greatest diversity of flavors, textures, and profiles. There's a healthy mix of the classics, but also rare varietals. We do this because natural wines taste different from their commercial counterparts. We want to share the best possible experience with you, so you can discover new wines you love. And you can always reorder a wine that took your heart, or ask us to avoid certain profiles. The best part is, you don't need any wine knowledge to fully enjoy these boxes. We curate our selections to be enjoyed without worry. Ultimately, this is Dry Farm Wines. We are so grateful to be able to share the power of natural wines with you.
Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. I'm co-host Dr. Aaron Ernst, along with co-host
Dr. Chris Demczar. Good to be
Dr.
here.
Chris Demczar in the house.
Yes.
And you might just be tuning in for the first time. We're discussing toxin-induced insulin resistance. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is.
T.I.I.R. Guys, it is a cause, not a condition. It's not a diagnosis. It's a cause of many different types of diabetes. Technically, it can cause type 1, but it would be toxin-induced pancreatic damage.
Yes.
It can cause type 2, toxin-induced insulin resistance, or it can even cause type 3, which there is a type 3 diabetes, and that would be toxin-induced nerve damage or brain damage.
I love it.
And just before the commercials broke apart our voices, we said there are 5 major toxins: ferritin, mercury, lead, aluminum, and one that we're probably going to go to jail for saying, glyphosate, Roundup. And we had a bunch of questions over the commercial break, and we had a lot of you texting and calling in for our free ebook, which I would highly recommend that you get. It's called Diabetes Heal Thyself, a functional approach to solving type 1, 2, and 3 diabetes, written by myself and Dr. Chris.
That's right.
And we want to give this thing away for free. So 704-906-2094. You can call to our call center. You can text your name and email, and it's yours for free. And it has everything we're talking about today and then some. And when I mean and then some, like every test you can do at home, every test you could ask your doctor to do, every answer as to what do you do when the test results come back. We even have our healing diets. We have chelation protocols. We have supplements that we recommend. And I mean, we could be doing this for like months.
Exactly.
To just cover what's in the ebook.
Yeah.
So the freeness of that is why you should be getting it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Diabetes isn't just limited to toxic induced, right? There are other causes. So ensure that you know which cause may be affecting you. It'll be in this ebook.
Yeah, and our series is going to continue week to week to week on that. So last week we talked just generally about diabetes.
Yep.
This week we're going over the number one most misdiagnosed cause, toxin-induced. Next week we're going to talk about the microbiome-induced. The next week we're going to talk about the scary one, neurologically induced. That's where there can be nerve damage or subluxation or a misfire between the brain and the organ systems. So for at least the next 3 weeks, we're going to be chatting with you guys on a total approach to fixing type 1, 2, and 3 diabetes.
Amazing.
So real quick, I know we talked about this at the top of the hour, so I want to read this again. If you go to Google and you type in the word ferritin, Ferritin, it's a big word, and diabetes, and you hit return, what's the first thing that Google finds in less than half of a second?
Yeah, so it says that type 2 diabetes is a condition frequently associated with elevated levels of blood ferritin.
Hold on. So if my ferritin is high, I probably have a condition known as type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 diabetes,
And
you got
what year was this published?
Yeah, this is back in 2004.
So how many years ago is that?
18 years ago now.
Yeah, like we've known this medically in research for some time.
Right.
And who published this?
And this was done by a medical journal called Diabetes Journals. So it's a diabetic journal.
The American Medical Association and the Diabetic Association, they should know about this, right?
They do know about it.
They do know about it.
They do
Now,
know about it.
Here's what's real crazy. They say that the association between high ferritin and glucose intolerance is known.
Right.
And glucose and insulin resistance is known. And what's unique is they even say in healthy people, which means you could be walking around undiagnosed. So your doctor says, no, you don't have diabetes, but you may have high ferritin and you're setting yourself up for type 2 diabetes.
Right.
So not only does it cause it, but it's an early predictor.
Right.
Now, real quick, I had some people text in over the last commercial break. How do we know if it's too high? Like let's say I'm lucky enough, my medical doctor actually ran the test. What's considered too high?
Yeah, so at least in the functional world, anything, going above 150 is extremely toxic.
Correct.
And so lower to 100 is definitely going to be more ideal.
Now, if you're a female, though, under 100.
Yes.
Okay, so the general rule, if you're a male, under 150, if you're a female, under 100. Now, real quick, okay? So I'm a male, and I go get this test. It's $25, guys. Like, it's super cheap, okay? And can you just go get it? Sure. You could walk right into LabCorp, Quest, any labs now and just say, I'd like my ferritin tested. They're going to say, you got $25, and you're going to just hand them a 20 and a 5 or whatever you have, and they're going to take you straight back, boom, boom, and then your email is going to get a report, and it's going to give you a number. Now, watch. Right. I'm a male, and I go in, and mine's 148. Am I good?
Oof. Well, they're going to, at least medically, they're going to say you're good.
Yeah.
It's going to come back on when you get that piece of paper, you get that email with the results, and you see it says ferritin, and then it says what your number is. And then, next to that number, it always would say, slightly above normal, or, above normal range, below normal range. Yours is going to say nothing because it's in that normal range.
It's right at the cusp of high. Now, is that too high for me? Heck yes. I want males under 100. And I want females under 90 or 80. So if you're a male and it's 140 anything, you're no good, even though it's going to say normal. Now, here's what's even crazier. It's a test medically done, and they know about it. But to a medical test, 400 is considered high. So if it's 399, it's going to be labeled as normal.
Right.
But it's 3 times higher than what it needs to be if you are looking at it functionally. So just know this. Just burn this in your brain. If you're a male, we want it under 100. If you're a female, we want it like under 90, 80, 70, maybe even 60. 60 would be a good one. Okay, so now we know the scores for ferritin. Number 2, what is ferritin?
Yeah.
Like, where does it come from? How would I get a lot of it in my body?
Yeah. So ferritin is a protein that is made by your body. So it's being made, it's not something you're ingesting. Your body's making it, but it's in response to the levels of iron that you have. You can think of it as the storage form of iron. You need ferritin to store iron.
Yeah, and what happens is ferritin is kind of like a safe deposit box for iron. So if your body is going through an iron crisis, which could be because you had a bleed, it could be because you've switched your diet and you became a vegan and you thought it was healthy, but you just depleted your iron scores, then your body says, we got your back. This protein's holding a lot of iron. It'll let go of the iron, and then you rebuild your blood. Now, real quick, when I say the word iron, what's the first thing that comes to your mind as far as what it is used for in the body? Iron makes what?
Yeah. Iron helps to make the hemoglobin molecule.
Yes.
That's going to help to store. It's going to basically attract the oxygen molecules to transport oxygen around your body so you can utilize it for different functions.
So ferritin stores iron so that you can make new red blood cells and put the iron on the red blood cell to carry oxygen. Now, if my ferritin levels are really, really high, it means I'm storing a ton of it, which means I'm generally not giving it to make new red blood cells.
Exactly.
So guess what the number one most common symptom of a high ferritin person is?
Lethargic.
And they're tired and they're winded. You know what I'm talking about with windedness? Here's windedness. I went up 2 flights of stairs and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't have asthma, so, or like I went to the gym to work out and I'm dying because I can't seem to recover my breath. Or I got an infection, I had COVID, I had the flu, and I'm like, man, I can't seem to recover my air. Okay, so in a healthy environment, ferritin is a protein that iron sticks to, and we store it. Now, when the ferritin protein has lots of iron on it, it's heavy, and it's floating around in our blood. So where does it tend to get stuck? Where do we find ferritin at high concentrations in the body?
Yeah, I'm going to say down in the near the liver.
Well, so by gravity, right?
Yep.
So lower half, okay? So all the organs from about your rib cage down,
Yep.
and in your joints. So one way of you knowing if your ferritin is high is if you wake up in the morning and you're like, like my back hurts, my knees hurt, my hips hurt, my neck hurts, but by about an hour or 2 into your day, you're like, well, I feel really good. It's because you're pushing the ferritin around as you got up, and so it's not accumulating in joints. It's toxic. It's like having rusted nails in your blood and your joints, and it's really dangerous. Now, what does ferritin do specifically to the insulin receptor that is why the diabetic journals say it causes diabetes?
Yeah. Well, I know it's going to render it not able to be used properly, right? It's going to blunt the response. It's going to keep it open, though.
So let's go super science-y, but keep it light. Is insulin a protein?
Insulin is a hormone, a protein.
But it's a protein molecule, isn't
yes.
it? Is ferritin a protein?
Yes, it is.
Did you know that the structure of ferritin looks very much like the structure of insulin?
No, I did not know that, actually. That's very interesting.
And so when insulin is present, it lands on the insulin receptor. But watch, when ferritin has iron in it, it looks just like insulin. So what does it do? It lands on the insulin receptor. Now, basic science. Insulin is going to land on the receptor, and something's going to be signaled to open something, which allows something. Can you explain this?
Yeah,
Insulin lands
insulin lands on the receptor, and then that is going to close the insulin receptor, but that's going to open up the sugar channel so that the sugar that is in your blood can pass through the sugar channel inside the cell to be used for energy.
Yeah, so for example, here's a drawing that shows a human cell, an insulin receptor, and a sugar receptor, and if insulin lands on that receptor, the sugar channel opens, and then the cell gets energy. Now, what would happen if this is happening? Ferritin now lands in the receptor. Does the signal get sent to open the channel?
No.
So does the sugar go in the cell?
Yeah, no, the sugar's still stuck in the bloodstream.
And that would be listed as high blood sugar over time, right?
Yep.
Now, the insulin's also in the bloodstream, correct?
Right.
And so is the ferritin.
Yes.
So we could test someone and say you have high sugar, you have high insulin, you have high ferritin, and what did we just find out?
Yes, the cause of your type 2 diabetes.
Right there in front of your face, ferritin-induced insulin resistance or toxin-induced insulin resistance.
So interesting. So you're saying that ferritin basically competes with insulin.
Yes.
When there's too high levels of ferritin, at the
And
insulin
again,
receptor.
what causes high levels of ferritin? Your liver produces it naturally to compensate for the amount of iron load you need, but a toxic liver overproduces. A liver that doesn't have the correct feedback. You called it like that negative sort of positive
Negative
feedback
or
loop,
positive
right?
feedback loops.
If the brain doesn't know to tell the liver to stop making ferritin, then it just cranks the ferritin out, and the consequence is you get this insulin resistance. Now, could you also have other things causing damage to it, like, say, for example, a virus? And this is what's so unique about this same study that connected ferritin to diabetes. They also connected what?
Yeah, it connected that if you had a virus in your liver, if your liver was holding on to the virus, hepatitis infection, specifically hepatitis C.
Now, here's the crazy thing, right? And look, we're live, so let's do this because, I didn't prep him for this. But how many people have hepatitis C virus? This is kind of unique. How many right there?
Just the United States alone, 2.5 million guys
are living with
it.
Diagnosed, though.
Yes.
So I would venture to say probably 10 times that don't know that they have
absolutely.
it.
So upwards of 24 million people.
And hepatitis C is something that you might just be like, well, it's a virus for the liver. But guess what? It is an extremely ineffective virus because an extremely effective virus because it subskirts the immunity. It hangs out inside of an organ. And if they've connected hepatitis C with diabetes, what should a diabetic get tested for?
Yeah, to see if they have hepatitis.
And ferritin.
And ferritin levels,
So now watch this, right? As a functional doctor, we know this. So when a diabetic comes to us, we're like, yeah, your sugars are high and your A1C's high. Okay, but your ferritin's high, your viral scores are high. That's why. So now watch. Dear patient, did you know this? No, I didn't.
I had no idea.
You see that right there? Look, am I making this up?
No.
That's the Health and Human Services government website.
.gov, yes.
.gov says currently this many people have it. Here's the diabetic journal saying it can cause it. Here's your ferritin score. It's 500. Here's your viral scores. You're way off the marks. If we get rid of the ferritin and we get rid of the viruses, do you see how that could get rid of your diabetes?
Well, I do. Yeah, that makes sense.
So would you like to know how to do that?
Absolutely.
That's the difference between health coaching, what we do, and medicine, which would be, well, your A1C is high and your sugars are high. Have you been dieting? Yeah, I have. Have you been exercising? Yeah.
Sure. I always
Okay, well, you need more
exercise.
meds then, because if we don't control this diabetes, you're going to get sick and you're going to and they're not finding cause. Now, let's talk about some of the other metals. And listen, there's so many different things because I said metal, ferritin is metal, iron's a metal. But if you want the whole list, guys, Diabetes ebook Heal Thyself is free. All the toxins, all the causes, all the tests, all the stuff to get rid of it. And it's 704-906-2094. Once again, for the phone number, 704-906-2094. And we're now going to talk about the other metals, okay? So what is a big metal that can cause damage been shown in science to the insulin receptor?
Yeah, it's another super heavy metal, lead.
And here's the unique thing about lead, right? I just went to Google and I typed in lead and diabetes. And what does it say right there, published in 2018?
Yeah,
Let's read
lead is found, that blood, hair, and urine lead was higher in diabetics, or people diagnosed with diabetes, compared to non-diabetics. And this was specifically in females.
So now, but watch this though, ready? Hair metal.
Yep.
So you can test for this. We do a heavy metals hair test. It's like, I don't know, $200.
Yep.
Urine lead, a little harder to do, but we can do it. Was what? Was high in a diabetic compared to a
non-diabetic.
So hold on. If I run your hair test and the lead is high, and I run a urine test and lead is high, what does that say you likely have?
Yeah, I have diabetes.
But what if you don't have it? What would that mean? So you haven't been diagnosed.
Oh.
But my test says lead is high, and
yes, then
both
I am
in hair
at
and urine.
super high risk to develop diabetes.
Yeah,
if
it
I
means
haven't
like
already.
if your annual physical was going to be 6 months from now, there's the diagnosis.
Right.
Now, do people feel blood sugars? Like, am I waking up today being like, oh man, I feel like a diabetic?
Well, we do our body does such an amazing job keeping our blood sugar in a relatively stable flux that to go outside of that flux, you're not going to notice anything. Now, at the extreme ends, Yes.
Well, that's like when you're passing out
Yes.
and you're super lightheaded and dizzy and you go like, I'm blacking out. I can't see. But we're talking blood sugars of like 500, 600. Can you feel the difference between 148 for blood sugar and 210?
No. I have no
So
idea.
do you see how you could be completely clueless, asymptomatic, undiagnosed, but fail a functional test and we can find it before a doctor does?
Yep.
And the joy is, look, if we get the lead out, what happens?
Then you don't have to worry about
Because
becoming
you
diabetic.
unblock the receptor and now the insulin works. What are the other metals that could do this?
Yeah, so the other ones, so looking at mercury and aluminum.
And where does mercury come from? Like, how am I going to get a lot of mercury in my body?
So a lot of seafood, high levels of seafood.
I mean, you'd have to eat a
And-
ton of it, though, compared to what I was thinking of.
Yeah, so
Like,
what are you
what could
thinking?
potentially be giving someone mercury day in and day out, 24/7, 365 days a year, because they have it in their mouth?
So okay, I get where you're going. So you're talking about any of the dental fillings, so
That
cavity
are
fillings.
silver,
Yep,
metal,
the silver
amalgam.
amalgam fillings.
Because, look, you'd have to eat, like, swordfish every day for the next 5 years to become poisoned with mercury. There is mercury in it, but
Yep.
not, like, a tooth could leach mercury 24 hours a day,
24/7.
7 days a week, and cause damage. And so if you guys understand this, you test for the metals, you find their presence, and you get rid of it, and what happens? The body
Gone.
heals by itself.
Yep.
So is it just mercury that causes this?
No, it could also be aluminum too.
So where does aluminum come from? Like, how would I get aluminum in my body?
I actually don't know that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
tell
we
me.
got to talk about this.
Yes.
The number one source is deodorant. Deodorant has high levels of aluminum in it. The number two source is the baking products that you bake on. So, for example, pots and pans and things like that. Number three source, the baking materials that you use. So, baking
Baking
powder
powder.
has aluminum in it typically.
Yep.
There's even aluminums used as baking stabilizers. And then it's also found in a lot of vaccines, unfortunately, today. It is the mercury replacement in a vaccine.
And I will say you can find aluminum-free baking ingredients. You just have to look.
Yeah, you got to
They
look
do
for 'em.
exist.
Can you find aluminum-free deodorants?
Yes, they exist too.
Can you find aluminum-free, mercury-free vaccines? No. So, see, there's a problem.
Right.
So, now
I'm
this
gonna
one,
zoom on my
this
lips on
one's
that
the
one.
one. This one's the one. We've got 3 minutes that we could get kicked off and possibly investigated for trying to even educate you on this. It's so highly controversial for us to even say this word because this company, who's now owned by Bayer, wants you to think this is totally safe. You can spray it in your house. You can go outside barefoot and clean your lawn with this.
Yep.
You can spray the cracks in your driveway with this. You could even drink it if you want. This thing is called,
Glyphosate.
and what's the other phrase for it?
And so Roundup.
Yeah, now think about this. My 5-year-old could walk into a hardware store today and plop down $12 and walk out with it.
Yeah, with a giant gallon or more
Of
Roundup.
Roundup.
Of Roundup.
Now, in Canada, can they do that?
No. And in
In the
Europe.
United Kingdom, can they do that?
No.
So hold on. It's literally illegal for that to be sold over the counter, and you can't use it. It's banned in other countries. But in the U.S., we're like, let's take a bath in this stuff.
Right.
Now, what is it, first of all?
Well, it's a pesticide.
And why would I use that?
It's going to help to make all the weeds not grow that you're trying to hide, and it's way more effective because of how toxic it is. It's way more effective than using your vinegar mixture.
And, it's not just so much the weeds, it's the things that eat the plants, right?
Yeah.
So, like the bugs and the worms and all this stuff. So, if I have like a crop field of corn, I don't want the bugs eating the food. I want you eating it. So, they now make these seeds that are genetically modified that can only grow in the presence of Roundup, glyphosate,
Yep.
and that actually won't germinate without it. And when you spray it, it doesn't kill the plant, it kills the bugs and the weeds. Okay, so it sounds like a good idea, but we've known now it can damage the insulin receptor. It can shut off your mitochondria. It can damage the intestines. This stuff is literally like the most poisonous product on the planet, and yet how many of you, it's Saturday, we're like, well, I'm kind of guilty here. This morning, I was spraying my lawn for dandelions, and I was cleaning the cracks in my driveway with
Yep,
it,
especially-
and it got on my toenails.
Sure.
So, like,
And honestly,
just so you know, yeah, dangerous stuff.
It is. Yep.
But listen, I didn't know this. I used to use it like crazy. My neighbors still do. And I yell at them all the time because you can smell it. Like, you can tell when a lawn has been sprayed. Can you not?
And don't let the companies try to make you think it's safe. They've put like these special wands on it,
Yeah.
and now there's like these like umbrella caps, so it
try to
only
prevent you
gets
from-
right there on the one spot that you spray.
Should show you how toxic
Yeah,
it is.
that's right.
Okay, so we're running out of time, and I know what you're also thinking. Like, okay, you guys, you really educated me, but now I have no clue what to do. You do, man. It's in the ebook right now, okay? The last 5 pages tell you how to get this stuff out, the diet to follow the detox, and even the products you can use to pull the chemicals. We saved the best for the ebook because we want you to download it, okay? 704-906-2094. What's the number?
Yep, 704-906-2094.
And once again, 704-906-2094. Hey, special shout out to all of you watching live stream, all right? Facebook.com/AskDrErnst, YouTube.com. We see you. But we're also noticing there's not that many comments. So as we wrap this show up, ask away. We're going to stay here for about another 20 minutes, and we'll answer questions only for those of you on our live streams. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Until then, adios.